I have often said that the lure of flying is the lure of beauty. That the reasons flyers fly, whether they know it or not, is the aesthetic appeal of flying. There is so much that must be done in a civilized barbarism like war. I lay no claim to advancing scientific data other than advancing flying knowledge. I can only say that I do it because I want to. Women must pay for everything. They do get more glory than men for comparable feats, but they also get more notoriety when they crash. Obviously, I faced the possibility of not returning when first I considered going. Once faced and settled, there really wasn't any good reason to refer to it. The most effective way to do it is to just do it. Never do things others can do and will do if there are things others cannot do or will not do. When a great adventure is offered, you don't refuse it. Courage is the price that life exacts for granting peace. To worry is to add another hazard. Women, like men, should try to do the impossible. And when they fail, their failure should be a challenge to others. Aviation records don't fall until someone is willing to mortgage the present for the future. The most difficult thing is the decision to act. The greatest work that kindness does to others is that it makes them kind themselves. You haven't seen a tree until you've seen its shadow from the sky. Being alone is scary, but not as scary as feeling alone in a relationship. Ours is the commencement of a flying age, and I am happy to have popped into existence at a period so interesting. No borders, just horizons, only freedom. Aviation, this young modern giant, exemplifies the possible relationships of women with the creations of science. Everyone has oceans to fly, if they have the heart to do it. Is it reckless? Maybe. But what do dreams know of boundaries? Trouble in the air is very rare. It is hitting the ground that causes it. In soloing, as in other activities, it is far easier to start something than it is to finish it. If enough of us keep trying, we'll get someplace. Please know that I am aware of the hazards. I want to do it because I want to do it. Women must try to do things as men have tried. When they fail, their failure must be a challenge to others. The stars seemed near enough to touch, and never before have I seen so many. I always believed the lure of flying is the lure of beauty, but I was sure of it that night. The more one does, the more one can do. Never interrupt someone doing what you said couldn't be done. The woman who can create her own job is the woman who will win fame and fortune. Better do a good deed near at home than go far away to burn incense. The more one does and sees and feels, the more one is able to do, and the more genuine may be one's appreciation of fundamental things like home, and love, and There are two kinds of stones, as everyone knows, one of which rolls. One of my favorite phobias is that girls, especially those whose tastes aren't routine, often don't get a fair break. It has come down through the generations, an inheritance of age-old customs, which produce the corollary that women are bred to timidity. Among all the marvels of modern invention, that with which I am most concerned is, of course, air transportation. Flying is perhaps the most dramatic of recent scientific attainment. In the brief span of 30-odd years, the world has seen an inventor's dream first materialized by the Wright brothers at Kitty Hawk become an everyday actuality. I have often been asked what I think about at the moment of takeoff. Of course, no pilot sits and feels his pulse as he flies. He has to be part of the machine. If he thinks of anything but the task in hand, then trouble is probably just around the corner. Aviation offered such fun as crossing the continent in planes large and small, trying the whirling rotors of an autogyro, making record flights. With these activities came opportunity to know women everywhere who shared my conviction that there is so much women can do in the modern world and should be permitted to do irrespective of their sex. Mostly, my flying has been solo, but the preparation for it wasn't. Without my husband's help and encouragement, I could not have attempted what I have. Ours has been a contented and reasonable partnership, he with his solo jobs and I with mine. But always with work and play together, conducted under a satisfactory system of dual control. Some of us have great runways already built for us. If you have one, take off. But if you don't have one, realize it is your responsibility to grab a shovel and build one for yourself and for those who will follow after you. There's more to life than being a passenger. Worry retards reaction and makes clear-cut decisions impossible. By adventuring about, you become accustomed to the unexpected. The unexpected then becomes what it really is, the inevitable. In my life, I had come to realize that, when things were going very well, indeed, it was just the time to anticipate trouble. And, conversely, I learned from pleasant experience that at the most despairing crisis, when all looked sour beyond words, some delightful break was apt to lurk just around the corner. Preparation, I have often said, is rightly 2/3 of any venture. My ambition is to have this wonderful gift produce practical results for the future of commercial flying and for the women who many want to fly tomorrow's planes. No kind action ever stops with itself. One kind action leads to another. Good example is followed. A single act of kindness throws out roots in all directions, and the roots spring up and make new trees. The greatest work that kindness does to others is that it makes them kind themselves. I wasn't brave, I just didn't have time to be scared. Decide whether or not the goal is worth the risks involved. If it is, stop worrying. Women will gain economic justice by proving themselves in all lines of endeavor, not by having laws passed for them. I can think of lots of things worse than never getting married, and one of the worst is being married to a man who tied you down. Human crises have a way of happening at inconvenient times. In aviation as a whole, women are outnumbered 40-1, but I feel that more will gain admittance as a greater number knock at the door. If and when you knock at the door, it might be well to bring an axe along. You may have to chop your way through. As soon as we left the ground, I knew I had to fly. If enough of us keep trying, we'll get someplace. Now and then, women should do for themselves what men have already done, occasionally what men have not done, thereby establishing themselves as persons, and perhaps encouraging other women toward greater independence of thought and action. Experiment. Meet new people. That's better than any college education. You will find the unexpected everywhere as you go through life. By adventuring about, you become accustomed to the unexpected. As far as I know, I've only got one obsession, a small and probably typically feminine horror of growing old, so I won't feel completely cheated if I fail to come back. Times are changing, and women need the critical stimulus of competition outside the home. A girl must nowadays believe completely in herself as an individual. She must realize at the outset that a woman must do the same job better than a man to get as much credit for it. She must be aware of the various discriminations, both legal and traditional, against women in the business world.